Welcome back, guys. We are on the 9-6 solving quadratic equations using the quadratic formula notes. We're on question number 2. So let's go ahead and get started. So question number 2 is 2n squared minus 6n minus 36 equals 0. Our first step is to identify our A, B, and C. A is the numerical coefficient in front of the n squared, the variable squared, so that's 2. B is the one in front of the n to the power of 1, that's negative 6. And C is our constant, negative 36. So that's my A, that's my B, and that's my C. So that's our first step, identify our A, B, and C. Next, let's go ahead and write down the quadratic formula. So x equals, there was a negative boy with pluses and minuses. About going to a radical party, he didn't want to be a square, missed the 4 awesome cuties, pardon didn't get over until 2 a.m. Next step, rewrite that same formula, but with blanks instead of the variables, because we're going to go back and fill in those blank spaces. All over 2a. So now we're going to go back to what we identified in the beginning, our 2, negative 6, and negative 36. So B is what we're going to be using first. That's negative 6. This is a negative 6. This is 2. That's negative 36. Woo, negative 36. And this is going to be 2 over 2. Looks good. Let's start cleaning it up. There's really 4 areas that you need to keep simplifying. So here's the first area that we should simplify. We have a double negative. So that's going to turn into a positive. So that's good. So we know that first area of simplifying is a positive 6. The next area we need to simplify is right there, which is negative 6 squared. So let's do that to the side. Negative 6 times negative 6. Well, what is negative 6 times negative 6? Negative times a negative is a positive. 6 times 6 is 36. Okay, great. This next area, again, the cloud of doom, because you got to be careful. I count my negatives. I see 2 negatives. The 4 is negative. The 4 is always negative because that's what the formula looks like. And that 36 is negative. And this is a big multiplication problem. So a negative times a negative, well, we got that. Positive. We have 2 times 4. 4 times 2 is 8. And then we have 8 times 36. So let's see what that is. That's 288. 288. All over 2 times 2, which is 4. Now really there's one area of focus at this point. We're going to really focus on this square root, because the 6 is what it is, the 4 is what it is. There's nothing we can do with them yet. Until we find out this radical section, we need to deal with this. So let's keep going. We need to add 36 plus 288. So let's get that. So we have x equals 6 plus or minus the square root. 36 plus 288 is 324. That's all over 4. Now we need to ask ourselves, is 324 a square root, a perfect square? And it is. And if you're not certain, a multiplication chart is pretty darn handy. So here's mine. I see 324 right there. It's in the yellow. These are my perfect squares. 324 is 18 times 18. So it definitely is a beautiful, perfect square. So let me use a different board here. Going to my next board. So I'm going to write down what I had on the previous board, which was x equals 6 plus or minus the square root of 324 all over 4. And now we just looked at the multiplication chart. We could see that 324 was a perfect square. So now we have x equals 6 plus or minus 18 all over 4. And now we split it into our two questions. So we're going to have 6 plus 18 divided by 4, 6 minus 18 divided by 4. Remember, the 6, that first number is just the number. It doesn't change. The 4 doesn't change. It's the 18 that could be plus or minus. So we have to have both possibilities here. So 6 and 18. Well, 18 plus 6 more would be 24. And then 24 divided by 4 is 6. So one of my two solutions is 6. One of my two intersection points is 6, positive 6. 6, go back 18 would be negative 12. Go ahead and use your number line if you feel you need to. That's great. Negative 12 divided by 4 is negative 3. And remember what that means. If we were to graph these, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's all that's implying. Awesome. Great job. Question number 2, done. Go ahead and turn off the video and you guys try the rest on your own. Just try 3 and 4 on your own. 5 and 6 are a little wonky, so we got to do those together. Bye.